Hello guys, and welcome to another video here. I know it's been a little bit. I've been taking a bit of a break from Riegensberg. And in fact, I wanted to come back to this really old project, Hilnberg, and examine some of the things that worked in it and some things that didn't quite work for me. This is an unfinished project. It's something that I never got around to finishing because I just lost a lot of steam. I wasn't happy with how it went, and the more you work on a build that you're unhappy with, the more it just kind of feels like a drag. So I'll show you. Hilnberg is spread out over this whole kind of area, and it's a really diverse place, and it's one of the things that kind of bugs me. I think it's interesting, but it's not realistic, or it's not immersive in that sense. So I'll show you. Here we have a charcoal burning camp, and there we have a hunter. We have some berry fields here where they're making wine. We have one fisherman. We have a tavern, a stone quarry. We have a wooden logging camp. Coming into here, we have a guard tower. There's going to be a smithy here. That's a stables. I think this is the house of the like the priest or whatever. What else do we have? We have a carpenter, a guy who is making barrels, and over here we have the whole kind of work site area. So this is an unfinished castle, and it's like all these little tents and stuff, people working on different bits of it and slowly making up this castle up at the top. So here's another thing that I would change. I don't think that the castle should be unfinished, and it may sound like a preference thing, but it really is important, because when you make a build like this, you need a strong draw point. You need like a central point. And maybe that's one of the problems with Riegensberg too, because Riegensberg doesn't have a big central building. But I think with Riegensberg, it kind of pays off a bit more because you have a lot of larger buildings. We have like the big bank, we have the big university, the big factories, the big church, the hospital, the civic hall. Here you just have a bunch of smaller buildings, so there's no real point to the place, there's no real focus to draw your eye. The other thing I said is that there's just too many different bits. I'll show you. So here is the charcoal burning place, and I think this is a nice place. I haven't built a charcoal burning camp in a while, but the idea is that they have all this wood. Whoops. They pile it up, cover it with dirt, and then they set it on fire, and it turns into charcoal. And in here, we just have some really high bunk beds. The issue, though, is that this is literally like about 20 blocks from this kind of secondary entrance to the place where we have this big berry farm, and it just doesn't feel like there's enough space. And that's also tying back into Riegensberg. One of my issues with that place is that it is unfortunately a bit too close to Clarendon for me, especially that big ruined tower in Clarendon. So I think that having a bit more space, having a better sense of scale really is important, and it's something that this build just really failed at. Another one I'd say is the style. This is a very cartoony kind of style that I don't go for much anymore. You can see I've gotten better as a builder, I think, because a lot of these roofs they're all exactly the same. They're all the same slope, same color, same shape. There's a lot of like lanterns on the outside of the buildings, which I don't do anymore. You can see here I was really struggling with how to detail the exterior of this building because I wasn't happy with it just being a plain face, but you can see it's a really kind of cheap way to decorate, in the sense that here we just have a bunch of stairs to delineate the kind of border here. We have put a bunch of trapdoors on all the corners. We have like these weird big planter pots. It just doesn't really work that well. There are things that I do like about this place though. I like that there's a diversity of things. I like that I haven't built some of these things in a while, actually. So I do want to build a charcoal burner camp at some point. I do need to make another quarry at some point. You know, these sort of things. I don't know. There's always mixed feelings going back to an old build. I'm happy that it's still here and that I still have this world, obviously, but it's kind of frustrating because like I know I'll never come back and complete it because there's so much that's wrong with it that I just couldn't really do it without completely upending like everything. So for instance, there's a guard tower here. If I were to make this today, I would probably strip out this whole thing, this whole training area, and just put a completely stone tower here. Just like a short, round stone tower. But then I'm leaving nothing of the original build. If I was going to do a church today, I think this church is ugly as sin. I would not make it all stone. I would not keep basically any of this piece. Probably, I think some of the interior decoration is fine, like the chairs in this kind of upper area, but even like the ladders and the glass, I am not a fan of. The bell, not a fan of. A lot of the stuff, the planning of your towns matters a lot, and for instance, the planning of this place kind of sucks. Like, there's a guy here who makes saddles, but he doesn't have a workshop, and we have stables here, but it's like way up next to the castle. We have like a big vineyard here, and it's like a super big house, but then the smithy is over here, and it's like a more important building, and it's way smaller, and it just doesn't really work. Also, none of these buildings have texture at all. A lot of them are very flat, a lot of them don't use a lot of interesting colors. So there's a lot of problems like that. This place is cool though. This is an alchemist's house. So you can see we have some hanging herbs and stuff. But then there's 4 beds in here. So that's another one. Differentiating your places apart from each other and making them feel like how they should feel. For instance, I don't think an alchemist's house should have bunk beds. I think it's the completely wrong vibe for that sort of place. I think the classic idea of an alchemist is somebody who very much like lives alone, like a witch in the woods or something. And having it right next to the castle on this kind of weird cliff here just doesn't portray the feeling that you want to get out of it. Another thing, a lot of very strong straight lines here. It doesn't really work because the rest of the build is all very fluid shapes. So then to just have like one big straight line kind of ruins the vibe. It's not fitting with the rest of the build. Then of course up here, I think this does look good, but my issue again being that there's no real building here. We're sacrificing having a really interesting castle for the sake of having something half finished, which can work if it's part of a castle. I think in Castle Leslie, having it be half finished is more interesting. It shows like a lot of progress, but in this case it just doesn't make sense. Like, why do all these buildings exist here if there's not even any sort of protection? Why are they so spread out? Why is there no like central town area? There's a lot of just questions like that. Like, did the guards exist here before the castle? Isn't that weird? Who were the guards? Like, is there a town hall? If not, do people meet in the church? Because it doesn't really feel like a meeting area. It feels very much more like a prayer kind of area. So I don't know. There are a lot of interesting considerations for Hilnberg. I know this is going to be more of a rambling video, inevitably. But I wanted to take a look at something that I know you guys haven't seen and that's really different from what we've been doing. And hopefully it'll give you a bit more of an appreciation for my current style, because I think I've grown a lot as a builder between when I first started this place and where I'm at now in Riegensberg. That's going to do it for today, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like. I will be getting to you guys soon, hopefully, with another video. I'm not sure if it'll be Riegensberg or not. I've had an idea floating around in my head for a few days now of building a kind of Civil War era wooden fortification. Because I've been playing a lot of Red Dead Redemption, and in that game there's a place called Fort Brennan. and it's kind of like this overgrown, mossy wooden Lincoln log fort, and I think that's pretty cool. So I don't know. We might see that on this channel. It might not come to fruition, but I guess subscribe, stick around, and find out. So yeah, see ya.